Originally, it was supposed to be 1,000 subscribers, but now we've passed 2,000 subscribers, so it's very, very exciting, and I am so grateful for all of you, all of my little dreamers. Thank you so much for being a part of this community and supporting me. I am so grateful for you. So, I have a list of questions here that you all have asked me, and I'm just gonna whisper and ramble on so you guys can get to know me a bit better. So, the first question, and probably the most anticipated, is why do I only show part of my face in my videos? So, there is a couple of reasons for this. The primary reason is privacy, and specifically, privacy is important for my future career. I am a pre-medical student, so I am interested in becoming a physician, specifically a psychiatrist. So I'm an undergrad, so that means I've just begun my career journey basically, because besides undergrad, I then have 4 years of medical school, and for the specialties I'm interested in, that's about a 3 to 4 year residency, and then I'll finally be a fully fledged physician who can practice in a private practice or in a hospital. But it's primarily because I'm just at the beginning of my career and I really don't know what my but also the medical field is a very by the book field. There's a lot of norms and accepted practices, especially things like with your appearance, having too many piercings, having your hair dyed and like bright color, having too many tattoos. A lot of people who are in the medical field, nurses, PAs, physicians, all get warned of these things and not, stepping over those boundaries. Of course, as time goes on, these things are becoming more normalized and accepted. But I was just concerned that if someone was to find out about my ASMR channel who is like on a board, that could affect my residency selection or could affect my education if it was like one of my professors, that it just wouldn't turn out well. It has nothing to do with shame in terms of like telling friends and family, because I've honestly told all my friends and my immediate family about this, and they're all very excited and happy for me. But it's more so if someone on an admissions board or a board of directors was to find out about this channel and then not understand it and have a very negative connotation of what ASMR is, and thus prohibit me from like being admitted into their residency program or not hiring me later on down the road. So, if that makes sense, that's basically the first reason, is just there's so much uncertainty in what my future career holds that I didn't want this channel to conflict grade school, and this is just so new that I really don't, want to risk me not getting where I see myself in like the next 10-ish years with my medical career. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. And then the pros that I have realized with only showing half my face is that I've become lazy in the sense that I only have to do half of my makeup, and I really don't have to worry about styling my hair, because you don't see all of my hair, you really just see the bottom. And I literally only do half of my makeup if I'm not already wearing makeup that day, just because I'm not a huge foundation wearer. I usually do my eyebrows and mascara every day, and then maybe some bronzer or blush depending on how I'm feeling. But I leave my skin bare and natural, versus for videos, I do put on foundation just to even out my complexion, but also I just have foundation that I want to use up. But again, like, I don't bother with eyeshadow or doing anything on my forehead because you're not gonna see it, so it's not needed. So I've learned that not showing my whole face just makes setup go quicker for me, because I don't have to spend like an hour to do a full face of makeup, and I don't have to worry about my hair and what it looks like. I can be ready in like 15 minutes. So yeah, that has just been a convenience that I've learned with only showing part of my face. But yes, as I said, the main thing is just going into the medical field, and there's a lot of expectations with your appearance and who you are, and I just don't want to be judged by anyone, because other people are just weird sometimes, and you can't predict how people are going to react or respond to something, and you're not always given the opportunity to explain yourself, which is kind of annoying, but it's just a fact sometimes. And another thing with the medical field that I didn't mention is it is such a social profession. I don't have a consistent team that I'm always working with, especially if I end up working in a hospital, because I'll be working with different nurses, PAs, medical students, and physicians, and also different patients every single day. So if I was going into a career that had me going into like an office setting and working with the same set of like 10 people, I would definitely consider showing my face in the future, or showing my face right now, honestly. But because I don't know who I'm going to be working with, and it's always new people, it's just not a controlled setting. And also, the patient-physician relationship is something that is so important to me, and I have this weird fear that if I came across a patient who actually watched my channel, which I know is very unrealistic at this point because there's only 2,000 of you, and the percentage of that happening is just really low. But if that were to happen, I think it would just be awkward, honestly, because of role confusion, really. Like, am I there as your physician in that moment, or am I there as an ASM artist who helps you relax and fall asleep? And I just don't want that confusion for the patient themselves, because they need to understand that I will be acting as their medical professional, not functions in your life, then that would just be really sad and like unfortunate for me, because in that setting my primary function is to be a medical professional, not to be a YouTuber. So yeah, those are basically all the reasons as a whole. It again primarily relates to my future career and just not knowing what it holds. Anyway, it took a really long time to mention or answer that question. So the next question is, what are you studying in college? So I am majoring in psychology and sociology. I assume most of you know what psychology is, but it's the study of the individual, so like the cognitive, social interactions and like properties of the individual, a lot of things relating to the mind, things like your emotions, your personality, your memory, your sleep, your aggressiveness, and then there's also like applied psychology, which could relate to how people function in workplace settings as an example, or like psychology, how does it interact with the law, things like that. And then sociology is the study of groups, so it's a lot of culture-based studies and understanding how different groups function, and you can compare different cultures globally, but you can also look at subcultures like within the US. And my sociology major focuses on sociology of medicine. So I have taken classes like health inequalities within the US, global mental health, the sociology of mental health, the sociology of medicine. It goes a lot into how do we define things like health, how do we define things like mental health, and how have these things that we understand now to be as common knowledge and just the way things are, like how did they come about, and then how do they differ across different countries and different cultures. So yeah, those are my majors, and then I do have 2 minors as well. I'm minoring in Spanish, and I'm also minoring in biology. And I will try to do more Spanish videos in the future, just as a little FYI. I was doing good about them, doing like one once a month, but hopefully I can continue that because I really do want to practice my Spanish, especially my speaking, and doing videos like this is really one of the best ways to do that. So then the next question was, what was your second choice of study? So I actually came in with a biology major and a psychology minor, and then I basically flip-flopped those, and I added on the sociology major because freshman year I took a sociology course and I just loved the class so much, and I really loved the professor, and he gave me a lot of guidance and worked with me and basically convinced me that I should do a double major in sociology and psychology. So I'm very grateful for that, because I think my sociology of medicine major has given me a lot of insight into social aspects of medicine that often get overlooked, especially in like medical school curriculum, because it focuses a lot on biology classes and anatomy and physiology and those types of hard sciences instead of the social sciences, which are really important because it is a person-to-person interaction when you're in a medical setting. But if I wasn't going to major in biology or psychology or sociology, I would have liked to major in, I think, nutrition and dietetics. I was considering it when I was a freshman or it's just in a different school. So that means it has a different set of core curriculum. So those general education classes that you're required to take along with your major classes. So it's just hard to mishmash majors and minors, especially when they're in different colleges. So I just decided to stay within the College of Arts and Sciences. And again, I do love the classes that I'm taking. And I've definitely turned cooking and baking into a really big hobby of mine. And I do make sure to do it a lot because I do really enjoy it. So, yeah. But if I could go back through undergrad again, I may have done nutrition, dietetics, or if I could, like, do it all over again, but regain, like, hold on to everything I learned in psych and soc, then I would maybe do nutrition. But if there is a course offered in medical school, I will for sure be taking it. And also, nutrition is super important for preventative medicine. So yes. My next question is, why did you decide to start an ASMR channel? So I started it in the fall, and I thought about it more than once because I've watched ASMR since I was like 10, so for a very, very long time. And it got to the point where I would be watching videos and sometimes I would be critiquing them, like in my head. Or I'd be thinking, oh, if I was gonna recreate this video, like, what would I do differently? How would I recreate it? Like, how would I do the setup and the props and all that stuff? So it got to the point where it's like, I want to be a creator. Like, I'm literally thinking about this instead of watching the video itself. And then when, like, I considered it, but I think the thing that really brought it over the edge is I saw other ASMR artists who were also only showing parts of their face, because I've seen a lot of people who have like an overhead camera and then it's only showing like their hands and like a table and things that they're tapping and showing on the table, but it's like an overhead shot, so then they don't show their face. But to do that, you kind of need like a whole rig and setup to hold your camera, because a normal tripod can't do that without getting the tripod itself in the shot, if that makes sense. But then I saw people who were doing this where they're only showing like their nose down, and I was like, oh, I could do that. Two examples that I really like is Mauve ASMR, MAUVE ASMR, and then the other one is Nefriti ASMR, and I will tag her. I'll tag both the channels in the description box down below. And hopefully I said it right, Nefriti. It's the Egyptian, the like female Egyptian emperor is who it's named after. It starts with like an N-E-F. I'll put it down, or I'll like put it on the screen right here in the description. But she also only shows half of her face, but she does also a lot of cool role plays, and that's really shown me how I can do role plays without, because a lot of the times it focuses on your hair and your makeup to get the character across, but she instead focuses like on her outfit, her earrings, and then her background and her props. So she's given me a lot of inspiration in that realm, and she's also lives in Australia but speaks French, so all of her videos are in French, but her whisper is very relaxing. And the other reason that I started it, besides like realizing that I could do it with showing half my face, is I actually got into med school like that month in October. was like, great, I'm going here. I'm not gonna apply to any other medical schools. I am satisfied. And I was like, it just lifted a really big weight and pressure off of me. And I realized how much free time I had for two reasons. One, all of our classes were online last semester over Zoom, so that just saved me up a bunch of time, and a lot of my extracurriculars were non-existent just because we couldn't meet in person and I couldn't do things like volunteering and stuff like that. And also, a lot of my friends didn't physically come back to campus because school was entirely virtual, so they thought they'd just save money by staying at home. So my social life first semester wasn't as intense, and I had a lot of free time. And honestly, it was probably like a bit lonely and just needed somewhere to invest my energy. So I thought, why not start an ASMR channel? And I already had a nice camera because I had gotten it for Christmas the year before. My microphone, though, when I first started out was awful. I have since upgraded to a Blue Yeti. But yeah, I had time and I knew what I wanted to do, and I had inspiration from other ASMR artists, so that's why I decided to start one. When did you first experience tingles or ASMR? As I said earlier, when I was about 10, my mom and sister both listened to and experienced ASMR. So my mom actually introduced both me and my sister when we were young, and it was Water Whispers Elsa who she introduced us to. There was an article about her in the newspaper, I forget what one, that she stumbled across, and yeah, from then on I've been watching ASMR, and I think the primary people that I started out with were Water Whispers Elsa, and then also Whispers Red were the two people I watched a lot. What are your personal favorite triggers? So my ride or die thing is whispering, specifically a female whisper. I primarily watch female ASMR artists, and soft-spoken's okay, but whispering is what I prefer. In terms of like other triggers, I really like scratching, whether it's like fabric, leather, wood, or tracing, things like that. I'm not the biggest fan of tapping, honestly. It just doesn't really do anything for me, so to each their own. Other sounds that I really like are rain sounds. ASMR Magic has this rain sounds on an umbrella. She has two of those types of videos, and they're great, and I love them, and I watch them multiple times. And also Whispers Red has this rain stick, and I love when she includes that in videos because I think it's so relaxing. And I also love hair brushing sounds and like scalp massage, so I like those videos a lot. I also really like show and tell videos because those are primarily whispering and talking, and I'm also just kind of like nosy and want to know like the different knickknacks or things that people have bought or they own. So I really like those types of videos, and that's why I include them on my channel, because not only are they fun to watch, but for me, they're fun to share with all of you and to make, because I like showing all these random collections and if you can try to find a place that is a calm environment where there aren't a lot of distractions. But otherwise, I think it's just a very natural thing. I don't get tingles every video I watch because I just don't. Not every sound or trigger does it for me. But that doesn't mean that you can't get relaxed from a video. For me, I actually really don't watch ASMR that often now to fall asleep, but I do watch it as like study breaks or when I just need to shut down my brain for a period of time. So I can just put it on, listen to the nice sounds, and just relax and calm down and kind of just zone out and be tranquil and calm. So yeah, I don't have a ton of like specific tips on how to achieve tingles. The next question is, your voice is seriously wonderful. Do you get any compliments on it in real life? I have gotten one, but it was from my mom, so I don't know if that really counts. I had to do like a voiceover for a presentation for school, and I had her look over the presentation just to make sure, like to edit it for me basically. And she said, "Oh, you have such a great voice for ASMR. Like it's very, like it's not too pitchy and it's quiet enough and calm enough, and like I can talk at a good pace." And this was before I started my channel, but I did keep that in the back of my mind when I was considering starting one. So yes, not a ton of compliments on it specifically, but thank you for telling me I have a nice voice. The next question is, sometimes your smile alone has produced tingles. This is probably a dumb question, but is your smile, or are my teeth, I assume, natural? Yes, my teeth are natural. I don't have like veneers. I did just finish using Invisalign. Someone once commented on the video because I have these like, or I had these two little nubs, I guess, and they use them for Invisalign for fine-tuning your teeth. So like the little clear Invisalign that you like snap on over your teeth, that holds on to those little knobs and just helps do a better job aligning your teeth. But someone noticed those and then was like, "Oh, I see you've had Invisalign." So yes, I just finished with my full set. It took me, I think, like 6 months. I started in July or August, and I just ended like 2 weeks ago, so the middle of March. But yeah, and I got the little nubs removed, so no evidence of Invisalign anymore. What is my favorite thing to cook? And as a precursor to that, I am vegetarian, so everything I cook is primarily either grains or veggies or fruit. But this is always such a hard question because a lot of my favorite meals are actually those like quick and easy meals that taste really good, but you don't necessarily have to put like hours into prepping them just because I have a pretty hectic schedule. But I love tacos. Those are super easy, and there's a huge variety for vegetarians. Like I make my own version of sofritas, which they have at like Chipotle. But you can also like season cauliflower or do fajitas with different vegetables like peppers and portobello mushrooms. So I love tacos. I love sweet potato nachos. So you mandolin some sweet potatoes and you use those as the chips. So you like bake them in the oven and then you deck them out with all your fabulous toppings. I also love to make gnocchi from scratch and pasta in general from scratch. I love making ricotta gnocchi, but also like the classic potato. So yeah, I eat a lot of Mexican at home, and I eat a lot of Italian, or like I cook those a lot for myself. And then I also just like, I love a good sandwich sometimes. Like, American food isn't the highest ranking on my list of cuisines at all, but in terms of sandwiches, we do good in that area. Like, I love just like a nice like vegetarian hamburger. I make my own patties out of like beans and mushrooms and carrots. It's a whole mess of things, and then you put them all in a food processor. And I also love, like, I make this faux version of like tuna salad, but with chickpeas, and basically use the same condiments that you would in tuna salad and seasoning, except you ground up chickpeas instead. I also love jackfruit to make pulled pork sandwiches with. I think I'm having those this week actually. And then I make a nice like avocado coleslaw to put on top of it. So yeah, a lot of food that's good food and still like somewhat healthy, but just isn't like super intimidating or takes a really long time to make. But I do like to try out like a new recipe at least maybe like once a week or once every 2 weeks. But since spring is coming, I'm super excited for all the farmers markets, because I just love getting fresh produce, and I can really see now, being a vegetarian, how like seasonal my diet is and the different things that I eat. Like in winter, I eat a ton of like chili and a lot of things with beans and squash because that's what's in season. But now we're moving into spring and summer, so we have a lot of lush produce to choose from. What is my favorite thing to eat? This is a very difficult question for me because I am a big foodie person. But I was just talking about with all my friends our favorite cuisines. So I think my number one would have to be Thai. I love Thai food so much. It's so good. Then I think Italian would have to be number two. But like true Italian food. Like everything is homemade and made from scratch. Like pasta from scratch. Your own pizza dough that's super thin and wood fire, or like brick oven wood fire cooked pizza, and then like a really good mozzarella cheese or a caprese salad. What I just like about Italian cooking is that it's very focused on the ingredients are what makes the dish. I also really love Mediterranean / Middle Eastern food, like gyros, or well, I can't eat gyros, but sorry, falafel. I really like anything like that's in a pita and has like tzatziki sauce, and I really just love those types of sauces, and their seasoning is really good. So that's like a Greek, Middle Eastern, Mediterranean umbrella of those things. Like, I love a so she'll often buy the book, and then I'll just like take it from her once she's done. She's like, oh, it's really good. And I was like, great, I'll read it next. Or if my friends recommend books, a couple of my friends are in book clubs, so then they kind of get recommendations from that, and then they just, pass it along. But there are a lot of good book clubs, especially ones through social media. So if you're struggling for book recommendations, I would definitely check those out. Also, being in university, like I just took an English class, so I got a lot of good reads through that. I actually enjoyed the reading material, which is nice. Where do you shop for books? So if I'm not borrowing a book from a friend, then it's either going to be from half-price books. I honestly just will go in there, know I'll be spending like an hour or so, and I'll just browse like my favorite sections, looking for books that appeal to me, and literally just reading, like the back or the inside cover to get a little synopsis. And I also really like local bookstores. They have so much charm and character, and the staff is usually really helpful and nice, and it's always good to support a small business. So I like to buy my books then either secondhand and pre-used or from a small business. I don't really buy like pleasure reading on like Amazon or from big bookstores just because it's not necessary, like I do for school textbooks, but that's more just an availability issue. So yeah, if you're really struggling for recommendations, like just go roam around in a bookstore, because I don't know, I love the atmosphere and the vibe of them, and they're really fun. What is your favorite book of all time? So fiction, I would say Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. He is one of my favorite authors, and that was like the next question. So I would say Malcolm Gladwell is my favorite author. A lot of his books are about psychology, and they relate to psychology, and even though he studied history in undergrad, but he's just very well written. And he used to work for the Washington Post as a journalist. And I also just like the way he sets up novels. It's usually a lot of vignettes. So that means within the bigger story, there's a lot of little stories to kind of like prove a point or showcase a certain theme. So I really like when novels do that, because I don't know, it just always keeps you interested in what the next story is gonna be, and it's not slow, because on the stories that they are telling, they want to get to the point, and like he doesn't want to waste time. You also just walk away learning a lot and feeling like you got something out of the book, and you're now like a more intelligent person. So, and Blink specifically is about those kind of like unconscious biases and split-second judgments that you make. And so I think it's really interesting, and just raises awareness about something within yourself that applies to every individual. So you walk away from the book just wanting to be more cognizant of that, and your implicit biases and your unconscious biases, and just how you react to situations and to like new people. So that's probably my favorite nonfiction book of all time. And then I think my favorite fiction book, I would have to say, I think Poisonwood Bible. I read it in high school, and it is a thick book. It's like slightly over 500 pages. And while I was reading it, I was kind of hating it because I had to read it for summer reading, and I was like, why do I have this bad of a book? But then I love doing English classes in terms of like having the time to was like, oh my god, like this is so cool. I love the way the author did this. I love the theme. I love the symbolism, stuff like that. So I really liked Poisonwood Bible because it was also a female-driven novel for sure, and it talked a lot about like white saviorism, assimilation, like cultural appropriation, and also just like, I forget the word for it at this moment, but basically the dad is a missionary, so it's this family, I think they're from the US, and they moved to the Congo, so it also just teaches you a little bit about what the history of the Congo and like the civil unrest and violence has occurred there, but also just, you know, makes you kind of, I guess, question what is the pros and cons of people coming from a developed country and then going to another nation that is most likely underdeveloped, and is their presence welcome, and are they doing things that are actually beneficial? And if you were to theoretically go, you know, on a mission trip or something like that, what mindset should you come up with, or come in with? How do you, like, interact with people of a different religion, of a different culture, and things like that? So I thought it was just, when I looked back on it, I was like, oh, there's a lot of symbolism to this, and I really liked it. You definitely walk away hating the dad, or I think most people do. And it's a family, a mom and a dad, and I think they have 3 daughters. And what's really nice is, since there's multiple children, you get to see how each daughter progresses, and how this like experience of moving to the Congo then later affected them in adulthood, and none of them have the same experience or take the same path. So I think that's just really interesting, and it follows them throughout life, which I also like. And it did have, I think the ending like made sense and was satisfying to me. I'm really big on the ending. Like, I like when things wrap up somewhat, and I just like the ending of it. The next couple, or we have 3 more questions. The next 2 are about travel. What are your favorite places you've traveled to? So, outside of the US, I think my favorite places are Italy and Spain. I went to Italy as a kid, and I went to Rome, Venice, and Florence, and I loved each of the cities. My mom always says you have to see Venice before it goes underwater, because there's no cars in the city. You travel everywhere by either walking or a boat, or specifically like a gondola. So that was just a really cool city to go to. But I also really loved Rome and Florence. And Italian food is great. I also love Madrid. I love tapas so much. Tapas are basically like a bunch of small plates. And I am a person that if I could just order appetizers and taste a little bit of everything, I would. So tapas are like one of my favorite types of food. And I just love the architecture in Spain and the culture, and I also get to use my Spanish, which I really like. So in Spain, I've been to Madrid, Barcelona, Sevilla, and Cordoba. So all those cities are great. Cordoba, you could probably do like, you don't need to spend the majority of your time there. You could just do, I did a day trip, but you could probably do like a couple days. And also in Europe, everywhere, or most cities are basically historical cities. So like everywhere you look, you're seeing really beautiful architecture that is hundreds and hundreds of years old, and they're just beautiful. And I really also just suggest traveling abroad if and when you can, just for like that cultural exposure as well. And in the US, I really like going places I've traveled to, and then what are the places you most want to go to in the future. In terms of the US, I want to explore some more cities, specifically because I'm like thinking about where I want to like live in the future, like settle down. I know where I go to college right now. Like, I do love the city that I'm in, but I'll be here for 8 years with undergrad and then med school. So I'm like, it's time to move on, and I want to find a different city. So I definitely want to explore more places in the US, but more urban areas, because I do know I want to live close to a city, just because I need the amenities that a city provides. But then like abroad places that I'm excited to visit, one of my friends and I have talked about going to India, because she has family there, so I'm excited for that. Also Thailand, I would love to visit Thailand, and I'm actually studying abroad in Madrid this coming fall, so I'll be able to, hopefully, fingers crossed, maybe go to a couple other countries if borders start to open up with COVID, so we'll see with that. Oh, also a favorite place that I've traveled to that I didn't mention is I went to Peru, specifically, well, we kind of went all over, but we did go to Machu Picchu, and it was gorgeous, and I would recommend, if you're gonna do a trip to South America, I would check out Peru and Machu Picchu, because it's just, I mean, it's a wonder of the world, so it's beautiful. The next question is, what is your desert island book, movie, TV show, and album? So my desert island book, I think I haven't read this book yet, so I think I would want to read The Vanishing Half. My sister gave it to me, and she'd already read it, and it's also been on a lot of bestsellers lists, so I want to read that when I have time, and I definitely would on a desert island. So my favorite movie, or desert island movie, there's so many, but I think I would have to say Mamma Mia, just because it's very upbeat and happy, and you know, you got like the combo of music and an actual like movie with a plot line. I mean, who doesn't love ABBA? So that, and then for a TV show, I would probably say Schitt's Creek. I just watched it. Finished the whole series like from December to January, and I just loved it so much. I loved the characters and the outfits and everything about it, so I would gladly rewatch that multiple times. And then album is also difficult, primarily because I don't really listen to like music by albums. So I know, and I also listen to such a variety. Like, I listen to indie, to pop, to alternative, to like punk rock, to also just like very much 70s and 80s music. So it just varies so much. But if I could get like maybe like an all-out 80s album, I would do that, because I feel like that'd be somewhat well-ish rounded. If you got some